Hello ladies and gentlemen, Panzer here, and today we're back with some more Crossout, and this is the tiniest half-track ever. Now, a lot of you have suggested this. In fact, quite a number of you over the past few videos have actually commented asking me to build a half-track. So, what I've actually done is taken my own spin on it and tried to make the smallest half-track I could. And this actually performs something like a light tank. In previous testing, I actually have had a little bit of success with this sort of design, and let me walk you through it right now. So this is the small track. You can get this from the Lunatics, I believe. Basically from level 1 with them, you can actually craft this part. And it's very, very small. In fact, it is actually a pivoting piece, so it does allow you quite a significant degree of movement for a track. It doesn't affect top speed all that much, while you might have noticed a lot of the track parts actually do that. This still does that, but it doesn't do it too much, so you can still get a very fast vehicle out of it. Now, I've put the starter wheels on here just to give it a little bit more bounce, because that will allow us to get around a little bit better. I could have used the medium wheels on here, in fact, but But I found that with the medium wheels it was actually far too rigid, and in fact it didn't allow it to pivot as much as I needed to. Now this up here is a 76mm cannon, and while I do have a couple of 88s that I could actually put on this, I decided to go with the 76 primarily because it has a much lower recoil, and this is not a very heavy vehicle for what it is. It is 4 tons, so it is deceptively heavy. But at the same time, it can't handle recoil all that well, so I've actually put this on here. And that also gives us a lot more ammunition, so we can fire more shots, and it reloads faster than the 88 does. So that's something to bear in mind. If you are looking to put cannons on something, don't always go for the biggest gun. It doesn't actually always have the stats you need. It does use the same amount of energy as the 88, but we do need it to be cycling just that little bit faster than the 88 will let us do. Now, the design of it is very, very compact. There isn't a lot of empty space here. In fact, deep inside there is a fuel tank, which you'll be wanting to bring in if you are going into PvP. Now, there's a lot of unnecessary parts here that I normally wouldn't put on. For example, the hell pipes for the extra rep gain in this bag. I've actually only really put that stuff on there, and these spikes are really just there to be shot off. And I've also put this bumper spike underneath here just to cover the frame, give it a little bit of protection. But at the same time, it's also to bump the power score up, because this is actually a vehicle that's designed for PvE. And I've wanted to take this into normal defense and normal raid missions instead of just the PvP. So I've brought that along as well, and that's bumped the power score up just to above 3000. Now, if I was going to take this into PvP, I would actually remove those extra parts and drop us below that, so that we have a chance of getting into lower matchmaking. Now, this fairing down here is not a very good piece of armor, but what it actually does, and the reason I put this on here, is it provides a kickboard. Now, if you have seen World War II documentaries and things before, you might have seen some of the very early light tanks have a sort of ducktail on the back of them, and there's a very good reason for that. So if I jump into test drive, I can actually show you what I mean. Now, when you're going down very steep slopes, in fact, if you go over cliffs, sometimes you might find that the back tends to drop a little bit faster than you might expect. Now, the center of mass is a little bit further forward, so that doesn't happen too much with us. But those kickboards were actually designed to keep the tank flat on the ground when it was going over steep drops like that, by bouncing it off the ground. And at the same time, it provided a secondary ability of counteracting recoil, because the early guns did not have very good recoil buffers, and some had none at all, really. So it used the chassis of the tank as a means of absorbing recoil. So when you fire, you can see it actually bounces back onto that fairing at the back there, and pushes us back down again. So that's just there to give us that little bit of buffer. Now, I had tested this before without that, and it basically rolled onto its back and wasn't able to get back up again. So instead of putting a car jack on there, I've simply created a piece that does it for us. Now, this design was initially a lot more compact than it is now, but widening the base actually helped us with getting a bit more stability. It doesn't have the turning radius that a buggy normally would have, but the extra ability to pivot on the spot is definitely very useful. So if you're building a half-track, well, this is one good reason to do so. At the same time, the starter wheels have a lot less grip, so they do resist the pivot a lot less than you might expect, so you are actually able to turn much faster. The only downside of that, of course, is that, as you might notice, whenever we brake, the tracks do allow us to stop on the spot, but that means that we need good suspension up front, which the starter wheels do not provide. So, something to bear in mind there. If you're about to take a shot, instead of actually just hitting the brakes like this, you might actually want to just gradually coast to a stop and let it stop on its own, really. Alright, and without further ado, let's jump into PvP and see how we do with this. Alright, and we're here on Founders Canyon among the massive faces of... I don't even know. And the color choice has actually been a benefit to us because it blends in so well with the ground. Definitely a plus point there. So let's slow it down. Oh, there's one there. Let's take a shot. And we've missed. Well, we've got 2 machine guns to back us up here. That's another wide shot. See, one thing is that when compared with test driving, the battlefield conditions are always going to be just that little bit different. Alright, let's turn around and try to rescue the base here. It appears that somebody is already on our cap. Alright, we've got 2 bots on our cap now, and trying to stop them right now. Can't seem to get a shot on them, but one of them has left the cap. Trying to stop the other one. And we've lost both machine guns, but we have actually pulled them nicely off the cap, which is exactly what we intended to do. But I think we're going to die here. And we've rolled. Okay, so that last match did not go well at all. And going to try and do something a little bit different this time. So we do have a decent amount of mobility, despite how heavy this vehicle actually is for this cabin. And I have mentioned in my last video with the Flea, if you've not seen that, go and check that out, that the buggy cabin is probably the fastest cabin you can get in this game currently, but it does suffer from a huge amount of acceleration loss if you happen to put a lot of very heavy parts on that. It doesn't deal well with weight all that much. So let's try and get a nice little shot up here. Hopefully we don't get seen doing it. And that's a very near miss there. We've got a bot coming up to us now that we can't actually get a shot on. It's a little bit too low for us. Just going to peek over the edge here. That's a good hit. That is a good hit. But of course, it is very dangerous right now. We're going to go back over the edge here. So right now, really just trying to stay alive and just draw them into the killing ground over here. Alright, that's one down. There's a couple more coming up here. And we've rolled right over. This is not good. Not good at all. So, of course, occasionally the kickboard does work, but in this case, I think, because we were slightly on a slope there, really didn't work in our favor there. Now, I have thought about this for a moment, and we could actually use the gun. But that has not helped us at all, actually. Okay, so definitely some flaws in the design, and it does need a little bit of refinement. Firstly, square covers really not working for armor for us there, so I'm going to swap those out for a couple of tin caps instead. And I'm going to drop these spikes, I think. It's a little bit too unnecessary. And what I'm going to do now is extend the kickboard out just a little bit. I think we might need to do that. Alright, so quick rundown of what's happened so far. I've extended the kickboard out a little bit more and added an extra van bumper at the front. Now that might scrape along a little bit from time to time, but it's definitely going to help with adding extra weight to the front. Of course, I could raise this up a little bit more and put this there instead, and that could actually help us a lot more. Now, I was thinking of putting a plow on there, but that might actually be a lot more weight than we're bargaining for, and we're already quite heavy as it is. So really just trying to keep this as balanced as possible right now. And hopefully that works out. Okay, new and improved. Let's see if we can get a new and improved score. So we're here on the industrial map with the very familiar acid pool in the front, or rather in the middle of the entire map. Let's try and get ourselves into a nice little spot here to get some shots off at those below us. So there's that one over there. Oh, just went right over him. Taking another shot. You can see just how important it is that we have that extra fire rate. Really, really working for us right here. Just trying to keep an eye on our flank there as well, because of course the minute you get into a good sniping spot, somebody's always going to try and take you down from it. So a lot of long range work here being done. And that is pretty much the entire team that went in there. The good thing it's all bots though, so really all the bots on our team are now dead. And it's time to pull back and cover the base actually. So just coming in through our cap area and just going to one of the elevated spots to see if we can really see anybody coming in. Because the chances are, now there's only 2 of us left, that somebody is going to. And I'm keeping an eye on the map there. You can see one of our teammates is moving through the factory area. And he's just been killed, so it looks like that's it for us, really. So this is not looking good. Definitely not looking good at all. We've lost our cannon. We've lost our whole team. And that's it for us. Okay, so yes, sometimes you want to do well and sometimes your entire team lets you down. Not really sure what happened there. It seemed like everybody went into the factory area and just sort of disappeared in there. Really don't know what happened. Oh, jeez. And sometimes you fall off a cliff. Right, we need to get out of here. It does appear that somebody's coming this way. I don't know if he actually is coming to help us or if he's just trying to run away. No, he's definitely coming towards us. And there it is. It's helped us up. That is Zinter there. Shout out to Zinter for the assist. Now we're going to go back and try to defend the cap now, because it does appear that sometimes actually the bots do just rush for the cap. And that does appear to be not the case this time. No, definitely not. And he's rolled us over. So, that is not good. So, some days you just do really, really well, and this is not one of those days. It's definitely a day that we've definitely done very poorly. And it's just, yeah, just one of those days. So, of course, playing with our other players in public matches is really just like playing with a random number generator. Sometimes you get really good players, sometimes you don't. And that's just really the way it is. Just waiting for our teammate to get out of the way. Oh, that was a very narrow shot there. Don't really want to go in there now that everyone's dead. Yep, they've seen me. Time to get out. Of course, this guy does, or he did have a wasp launcher on him. So, of course, if I manage to land a hit, we might be alright, but, no, that's the cannon gone now. So we're down to 1 machine gun. Just trying to chip away at his weapons here. It's not really going so well. Trying to draw them out with me. Hopefully towards the team, but there doesn't appear to be anybody here. Hopefully we can last long enough just to run away a little bit. Alright, and that's all we really have time for. So yeah, sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some, and it's not really always down to the design of the vehicle itself. While this definitely could use some improvements, that cannon could be better protected. Overall, it's just one of those days for me today, and but hopefully that gives you some idea of what this vehicle is good at. Now, I did say that I originally designed this for PvE, and that's true. It actually does a lot better with PvE, since most of the enemies that you're facing are armed with machine guns and the like, and it is much easier to kind of deal with that than to deal with enemies armed with rockets and cannons. But then again, it really depends on the difficulty score you're going for, really. And this could definitely go up or down in power score, depending on how you equip it, really. But definitely the machine guns and cannons seem to be the better choice. I've seen people run shotguns together with these things, and it really doesn't go that well, because cannons do have a very long range on them that the shotguns just can't match. But, yeah, so that's the MINI-HALFTRACK. Feel free to give this a name down in the comments below, and I'd love to read out what you guys have come up with. You've definitely done a good job at naming the workhorse all sorts of different names, and in many different languages as well, so it's very, very nice to see. So feel free to give this one a name down in the comments below, and I will have a look at them as well. And if you have any questions about this build, or if you've tried a similar build yourself, do leave those down in the comments below, and I will have a look at that too. Leave a like if you've enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you are new to the channel. My name is Panzer, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.